already clicked it.
Good evening, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode of On the FinSide here with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. I'm Brian Cat NFL on Twitter. Paul is fanatic_pick. The Dolphins go down today 33-27 in a very odd game here against the Kansas City Chiefs. Uh, I don't think there would have been much of a surprise, Paul, if anybody had said that the Dolphins were going to lose 33-27. But the game starts out in the first quarter, and Pat Mahomes has thrown 2 interceptions all year, and he throws 2 in the first quarter to the Dolphins. Dolphins go up 10-0. Then the Chiefs roar back with 30 unanswered points, and we're starting to think, let's not be humiliated in this game. But
I think the Dolphins screwed with the Chiefs a little bit here right off the rip because the Dolphins have traditionally been a huge man-to-man team all year long. Very little zone, maybe a couple players here and there. And they came out very zone heavy in the first quarter, which took a lot of folks by surprise, I think, as you could tell from Mahomes throwing the 2 interceptions there. One to Byron Jones, who hasn't had an interception since 2017, as we all know, and the other to Eric Rowe, who, well, we told you it was going to happen anyway on Saturday. So,
yeah, I give a lot of credit to both Chan Gailey and Josh Boyer for calling a good game on offense and defense. I don't put any of the blame on them for this. You know, in the first quarter, the Dolphins are up 10-0, but you couldn't help but feel in the first 15 to 20 minutes of the game that they left a lot of points on the field. I mean, the first 2 drives of the game, the first drive ends with Jakeem Grant having a dropped pass close to midfield, and then the next drive you have a Jason Sanders missed field goal after the Byron Jones interception. So, there were some missed opportunities there early on, and then after the Chiefs put up 30 points late in the game, Tua really comes back with nobody at wide receiver, tight end, and running back. I mean, when I say nobody, you don't have Dolphins did not have their top 3 running backs, top 5 receivers, and Mike Gesicki leaves the game, and Tua comes roaring back to the point where the Chiefs have to convert a third down to put the game away late in the fourth quarter.
yeah, not only that, the Chiefs had to recover an onside kick to put the game away late in the fourth quarter. I mean, this game came down to the final 15 seconds, and Tua gave some more reasons for optimism today. He really, truly did. And I think Miami might have found another slot guy that should see a little more time in Lynn Bowden. And in reality, there are so many things that we can point to in this game as if this ball just bounced a little differently. Miami took this one home. And one of the big things I'll point to, Bobby McCain went down twice in this game. The only time Tyreek Hill was a true factor in this game was when Bobby McCain was standing on the sidelines. Clayton Fejedelem took a horrific 5 steps forward to come up to meet a streaking Tyreek Hill, which is the dumbest thing ever. He can't keep up with him if he's already got momentum, let alone his momentum going the other way. And then on that end around as well, Clayton Fejedelem took a horrible angle twice on that play to completely allow Tyreek to go the rest of the way. And you look at the rest of the game, Tyreek wasn't much of a factor.
Yeah, he only had 3 catches for 79 yards, had a rush for 32. So every time he touched the ball, it was a big play, but he wasn't somebody that was getting yards play in and play out. And it really speaks to how well Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, even against elite competition, how well they do. But on the other side too, I mean, Travis Kelce has another legendary game. I mean, yeah. And the amazing thing is, I don't think the Dolphins defended him poorly in this contest. I mean, he had 140 yards receiving on offense. I on one 32-yard catch against Eric Rowe. Eric Rowe could not have had better coverage. And on another one, Sam Egwavon was late getting to the ball. It's basically, I mean, when I look at it, Paul, I think the Dolphins played the Chiefs today. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
They did, but you know what? So one of the things that I was thinking about all game long is your starting left guard is out. Austin Jackson missed a significant portion of this game. As you pointed out before, by the end of the game, two of his top 5 receivers were out if they haven't been already walking into the game. 2 of Miami's top linebackers out. Their top 3 running backs out. And they came out and went toe to toe with the best team in the NFL right now. And this is with a very young team, an ascending team, and a team that's in the middle of a rebuild. There are so many reasons for excitement and optimism based on this game that, I mean, I think Miami could beat these guys if they meet them in the playoffs at anything resembling full strength.
I don't, but only because I think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, and if they hadn't beaten you this way, they would have beaten you a lot of different ways. And plus, the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, don't.
And I'm looking out of the corner of my eye here. I think Bills are about to go up 23 points to the Steelers.
Jesus,
incredible. It's going to suck when they win the Super Bowl. I'm telling you.
Well,
anyway,
the Bills might get there, but they're going to lose by a field goal in the closing seconds.
That's probably what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, when you look at everything that happened in the game, the Dolphins next year have to surround Tua with a lot more weapons, and that's been kind of the thing the entire year at running back, wide receiver, and tight end. And then when you add on to this, Devontae Parker and Jakeem Grant after halftime got injured right away. Mike Gesicki gets injured in the fourth quarter. Myles Gaskin, who had a phenomenal game last week against the Bengals, goes down with COVID. And at the end of the day, I at one point, not only at one point, but for the entire fourth quarter, when they spread the field out with 5 wide, you've got Lynn Bowden, Mac Hollins, Patrick Laird, Adam Shaheen. Look, these are good backup players, but it's amazing the Dolphins had an opportunity in the fourth quarter to still win the game.
Yeah, and Kat, we've actually got a few folks asking this in the lobby, so I'll let you take this first. But do you think Miami should have gone a little more up-tempo a little earlier in this game? Because they really seem to get rolling when they go to that.
Yeah, and yes, but I also think that they did a good job of that too. I mean, they went no huddle pretty frequently throughout the game before that, and they used a lot of receivers in motion before that. I don't have a problem with the play calling or the play design in this game at all.
Yeah. I'm with you. I would have been okay with going up-tempo a little bit sooner just because I think Tua seems to have a little bit better feel when he goes to that up-tempo. And I would have been curious to see how it looked with some of Miami's, starters on the field. So, but again, I'm not unhappy with the outcome of this game. This game gave me so many reasons for optimism. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I mean, and Gesicki had 5 catches for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns before he goes down with the shoulder injury on a 2-yard catch. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can make the point that the Dolphins maybe should just go no huddle the entire game, and I actually wish that they would. But I thought the play calling was still good throughout the game. And also, the Dolphins were up 10-0 early. So given that, they were running the ball and trying to stay balanced a little bit more. If you just we're trying to rock back and throw the ball, if you're, with Tua quarterback to try to beat Mahomes, I don't think that would have gone very well. But looking at the other spots here too, DeAndre Washington, he runs tough, he runs hard, but he's, at best he's a third running back, and the Dolphins are going to have a different running back and likely a different receiving core here in 2020.
I think it'll be a slightly different receiving core. I don't think it's going to be as different as a lot of people think. I mean, I think Albert Wilson will come back, and you know, people can say what they want about Albert Wilson, but one of Albert Wilson's big specialties is separation. And I think getting Devontae Parker, getting a healthy Preston Williams, getting and hate me if you want, but I do think there's a role for Jakeem Grant on this team, and then also the acceleration of Bowden and Perry as they move up in the ranks. I think you've got maybe one or two to add through the draft to compete, but I don't hate our receiving core, and I think as Tua grows, they're going to grow with him.
Yeah, when I look at Jakeem Grant, I love him as a kick returner and a punt returner. I think he should make the Pro Bowl as a punt returner. But other than that, I'm done with him in the starting lineup. I just can't. I can't do it anymore. He's just, when he gets an extended role, we've seen time after time, it's a comedy of errors with him. And in this game here, the first drive of the game, he drops a pass right at midfield. He on a punt return, he runs at 6 yards back and gets taken down. And he had another play that I'm forgetting about too. So now we're talking about 2 games in a row where he has 3 to 4 mistakes that are big. And I look at Lynn Bowden, who doesn't even know the entire playbook right now. 7 catches, 82 yards, and it has a lot more versatility and a lot more upside than Jakeem Grant. I think the Dolphins got a major steal trading a 6th rounder, or what was it? A 4th and a 6th for I forget. They got a steal in that. That's for sure. They traded a 4th for Bowden and a 6th, I believe. But what a steal!
And there was a Rake McMillan thing in there somewhere.
Yeah, for the same team. That's where I'm getting all messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like Lynn Bowden a lot. I like Malcolm Perry a lot. And I think there's a lot of special things that they can do. And let's face it, there was a jet sweep today where I thought Jakeem Grant looked pretty good. I mean, it's... Yeah, I'm not over the Jakeem Grant thing, but I think he needs to be situational and not a starter.
Yeah, if you're telling me 20, 25 snaps a game on offense, with those end arounds, because he does look great on those end arounds, because he can duck in between those short areas. He can get around the corner. I think he does have a role on offense. Yeah. I just don't want to see him as a number 2 guy, and he's doing it out of necessity. And I do want to see him on kick and punt return as well. So I'm right there with you. I got to say too that, Austin Jackson had his usual whiffing on 1 or 2 blocks and pass protection. But I think a huge part of Tua coming back in the second half, late in the second half, was the offensive line. I thought they did a heck of a job late in the second half in pass protection.
They did. And, I know Kinley let up a sack. I didn't like the way the pass protection was on that play. I never like when pass protection leaves a huge gaping hole in the middle of the line. I just don't. But that's me. Other than that, not just in pass protection, I thought even in the run game, even though Miami didn't crank up a huge amount of yardage, I thought Kinley was just bowling people over downfield. Every time you saw a play, you saw Kinley driving somebody 5, 6, 7 yards into the ground, you name it. And that was exciting. I thought Austin Jackson, as much as I was on him a few weeks ago, I thought he had a better game overall today, and he's continuing to start to shape up here. Robert Hunt has just been lights out, and Jesse Davis is so much better at right guard. Ted Karras, I go up and down on him still. You're on a 1-year kind of prove it type deal. And I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, he's okay. I don't have a problem with Karras. I'll tell you this: I'd rather re-sign Karras for cheap than draft Creed Humphrey in the first round. Even though I like Creed Humphrey, I'm not willing to spend the resource at the center position. for a first round pick.
No, but I'd drop a third on one. And there's a
Yeah, me too.
couple there's a couple out there. I mean, maybe you get Karras back on another 1 or 2 year deal, draft somebody, or I don't know what happened to the ghost of Michael Dieter, but it's there's a handful of guys. There's Lindstrom from BC, and a couple others that could be a pretty good fit and a potential upgrade at that center spot. So, and then you lock them up for 4 or 5 years on the cheap, and so long as they're okay or better, they're matching up with Karras right now.
I'll tell you where Dieter is. He's auditioning for the Dunkaroos commercial.
There you go.
As a kid, he's got a face that I can't describe. So anyway, yeah, Dieter, you don't see a lot on the field, but it's largely because at center and guard, there hasn't been a lot of injuries. I mean, Eric Flowers didn't play in this game, but Dieter was not called up for that, and that's not a huge surprise. Jesse Davis slides in there, doesn't miss a snap. But to go back on Robert Hunt, though, I mean, Robert Hunt is protecting to his blind side. How many times have we heard Robert Hunt's name over the last several games? Not many, and that's a good thing. He's your right tackle, and he brings an attitude as well. I got to say, right now, Robert Hunt is my favorite Dolphins rookie offensive lineman right now.
I love Robert Hunt. I love Solomon Kinley. I'm with you. Robert Hunt has been just lights out since he managed to get himself inserted into the lineup. I think Miami really did, and Jim Nantz hit the nail on the head with this. They hit it perfect with their 3 rookies on the offensive line. That is unheard of, to have 3 rookies starting on your offensive line. And Miami did it, and they're doing well, and they're growing in front of their rookie quarterback, no less. I love it.
I love Jim Nantz too. I mean, he's one of my favorites. In the
you mean having a real announcer for a Dolphins game? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he's always fantastic, always spot on with his comments. He doesn't say anything that where you want to punch him in the mouth ever. He's fantastic. So anyway, I'm not sure where that came from, but defensively, the Dolphins were without Cal Van Noy and Landon Robertson this game. I mean, it was pretty surprising that Van Noy didn't play here. I mean, he had the hip injury, but he won Defensive Player of the Week last week with a hip injury. Landon Roberts didn't play too. That wasn't a huge surprise. He really tried to play, but didn't happen. Jerome Baker might have had his best game as a Miami Dolphin. 2.5 sacks in this game, and one of those sacks was a 27-yarder on Pat Mahomes.
It looked like about a 300-yarder.
Gosh, it was incredible. And the thing is that nobody knows how to get out of the pocket and elude pressure and understand how to do it better than Pat Mahomes. So for Baker to catch up with Mahomes and take him down, phenomenal work.
Yeah, it's. I had a couple of people ask me at that point why Mahomes didn't throw it away, and I think there's 2 reasons. For one, Agba chased him out, and I don't think he had a clue Jerome Baker was there until he turned around. So he was positioned completely wrong to even try to attempt to throw a ball without getting grounding called. And, the way he was being chased, if he even tried to turn and throw it, he was going to get pasted and get grounding called. It looked like Mahomes was just trying to get the hell away to get enough space to be able to throw it away, and it didn't work. And it was beautiful. I mean, Jerome Baker is just a heat-seeking missile when he blitzes effectively. And by the way, I love the way Miami blitzed Pat Mahomes today. I don't give a damn what anybody says. They played a lot of their breed of football, even though they switched to some zone a little more than usual. And it was effective. It made him uncomfortable. And you have to do that. Miami, a lot of people confuse blitz with, oh God, you're bringing everybody, you're bringing the house. That's not necessarily the case. Blitz strategically, blitz effectively, and mask it.
Yeah, they did. I thought they did a good job of mixing up their coverages today. And at the end of the day, the Chiefs got to put the helmet back up here. Hold on.
Oh, you're good.
All right. The Chiefs at the end of the day just had too much talent. I mean, you're talking about the best tight end in the game, the best quarterback in the game, the best deep threat in the game, and then you mix in there Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the passing game, Sammy Watkins, Demarcus Robinson. It's a lot to defend, and I thought the Dolphins did the best they could. I mean, for three of your four starters in the secondary to have interceptions, you have three picks on the day. Pat Mahomes threw two all year in 12 games. So that's very good work. But the Chiefs did move the ball very easily, and I think the reason they did was because Travis Kelce, the Dolphins just could not overcome his talent.
Yeah, and it was odd to me that Rowe wasn't on Kelsey as much as expected. Now Kelsey had I think three catches over Rowe in this one, two where he beat him, and one where, like you said before, Rowe had perfect position and just Travis Kelsey's just a freak of nature at the tight end spot and caught it anyway. So it's that surprised me a little bit that you had some of the folks you did chasing Kelsey around the field, but overall, yeah, no, I love the secondary of this defense, and I gotta say, I love our front four and what they were able to do to help the secondary here because you had Van Ginkel bat a ball up on Byron's interception. Somebody batted it up on Eric Rowe's interception. You had a lot of defense
Yeah,
balls from the front seven.
yeah. Grugier Hill did on
Yep.
on Rose there. Yeah, it was, and I thought they competed very well. And yeah, there were some missed tackles on Edwards-Helaire in the passing game. You know, I still think this defense is great. And Xavier Howard gets his ninth interception of the year. I mean, um, and nobody has had double digit interceptions since Antonio Cromartie back in 2007, according to Joe Shad. Talking about if he gets an interception the rest of the year, and I assume he will, most interceptions in the last 13 years. Incredible. And good for Byron Jones, even though after he got the interception, it looked like he didn't know what the hell to do with the football. Like he didn't know it. He couldn't believe he got it, and he's carrying it like a loaf of bread, fumbles it, and then Emmanuel Agba falls on it. So, but also too, in this game, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 16 carries for 32 yards, 2 yards a carry. And the reason for that is because Zach Sealer, Christian Wilkins, and Raekwon Davis, you keep those three guys out on the field, you're going to shut down a lot of running games.
Yeah, it's God. Miami's got their three-man front of the future as far as that goes, and their rotation, and they've got all of them locked up for a little while still. So it's great to be in the middle of this rebuild, and the only reason you would even think about drafting a defensive tackle next year is if the right value fell to you in the right place.
Yeah.
Which I never thought I'd be saying right now, especially with Devon Godchow out hurt. It's these three have been dominant when they're out there, and God, and then we've got Benito Jones as well in the practice squad, who's an absolute plug that you can throw in the middle if he continues to ascend.
And sticking on the defense, we'd be remiss not to talk about Clayton Fedulum in this game.
I don't want to.
And it is evidence that despite how deep and talented the Dolphins are at defensive back, this is why I believe in drafting defensive backs every year until it hurts. I mean, because now you go up against the big boys. You get Bobby McCain that goes down. Jamal Perry doesn't play. And those shouldn't be massive losses. I mean, well, that made me McCain has played great free safety this year, but I mean, you put out a Clayton Fedulum, and he's got a target on his back, and Tyreek Hill basically did nothing all game catching passes until he saw Clayton Fedulum.
Yeah, and he barely saw him as he streaked by, and Clayton Fedulum was going the wrong way on both occasions. It's I love Clayton Fedulum on special teams, but end of the day, Clayton Fedulum's Walt Aikens. He's a great special teamer that shouldn't see a down on the defensive side of the ball again. He had very limited experience on defense. There was some promise there when he was with Cincinnati. And everything I saw today, he doesn't belong on an NFL field unless you're in garbage time against a garbage team. It's I would have rather I would have. There are so many people on that roster I would have rather had out there in that instance. Even if you played Noah Igbenogany at safety on those plays while Bobby was out in place of Fedulum.
Yeah.
And he has no clue what he's doing at safety, but at least he knows how to cover.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I was surprised we didn't see Igbenogany a little bit more at defensive back. We saw a lot of Fedulum. We saw a lot of Kayvon Frazier even. Disappointing we didn't see more of Igbenogany. So, Paul, let's get to the grades here. So, Tua finishes the game 28 for 48, 317 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. You know, one of the bigger plays of the game was the safety. I mean, where I replayed it a few times and I counted it was 3.4 seconds that Tua had the ball in the end zone. That's unacceptable. I still look at that as a rookie mistake, but that comeback in the second half with a completely depleted roster and the tight windows that he threw him into, phenomenal job there. You know, didn't win the game, and they were down 30-10 at one point. But given the comeback and given the big time throws that he made, I'm going to give him a B plus in this.
I'm glad to hear you give him the B plus. I have floated back and forth between an A minus and a B plus. There were a number of rookie mistakes in this one, but end of the day, I'm going to say something that's going to sound unpopular, and I need you to hear me out on this. What Tua did today is perfect in terms of what this team needs him to be. I know he had the interception. We can go back and forth about whether Grant was defended well or not on that. But what Tua needs to be at a bare minimum on this team is he needs to be Trent Dilfer. He's got a phenomenal defense and a phenomenal special teams unit. At the very worst, he needs to be a guy that doesn't turn it over and make silly mistakes. And he'll get there. He's progressing towards that. You rarely see him make the same mistake week in and week out, which is awesome. And I think he's got a much higher ceiling than Trent Dilfer when I say that. Don't get me wrong. But he played a great game. He took this team on his back, and he's shown those signs of progression yet again. Yeah, he held the ball too long on two of the 4 sacks today. The other sack against Kinley was brutal, but that wasn't really on Tua. He needs to learn how to get the ball away smartly so he doesn't take a safety there. You can't just huck it up from where he was. But if you throw it somewhere in the vicinity of somebody, maybe you don't get it called grounding, and maybe it's not a safety. But again, A minus for me, right on the cusp of a B plus. He really went toe to toe with no weapons at the end of the game.
One thing I'm going to continue to say as far as Tua is concerned is, and it was by far my biggest fear with him, other than the medicals coming out, is that he has to throw the ball with his feet planted. And because when he does that, he can get velocity on the ball. He gets the ball out quickly. He's not a good quarterback when it comes to throwing off balance throws. He's not. And when the Dolphins could keep him out of that situation, the better off they are. In the fourth quarter, when the offensive line stepped up and played well, it didn't matter who they had at receiver. Their offensive line was protecting. Tua was able to plant his feet and deliver footballs accurately. They've got to continue that as things go along here. At running back, Dolphins were without their top 3 guys. Myles Gaskin with COVID. Matt Breida out. Who knows what happens with Matt Breida, the Walmart Breida, from week to week. And Savon Ahmed got 1 hit a couple of weeks ago and has been out since. Dwayne Washington, he gets what's blocked. That's really all there is to say. Not much to report on this unit, so I'm just going to go ahead and give him a C plus.
Well, the fact that you called DeAndre Dwayne tells you everything you need to know about this roster. Uh,
Wait, did I say Dwayne again?
you did, but you know what?
There were two Washingtons drafted back-to-back years. One was Dwayne Washington, one was Deandre. I've been calling him Dwayne ever since.
Yep, you know what? But the fact that he's our fourth string running back, you know, the running backs did okay today. It wasn't their day to shine, but they weren't really asked to. A lot of the running game was using the jet sweep. We were on our fourth, fifth string running backs. Patrick Laird, DeAndre. Uh, I mean, they blocked well, and there were a couple of times DeAndre ripped a little bit off. But again, it's I'll give him a C. I'll give him a C because of their blocking. The running game wasn't much of a factor for either team today.
Yeah, Patrick Laird had a few good blocks, but other than that, not great. Receiver and tight end. I mean, we've seen the stat sheet with Gesicki, seen the injury report. So I'm going to throw it back to you to make a mess out of this.
Oh Jesus, thanks. I appreciate it. Um, there were a couple key drops in this one. Mac Hollins stepped up. Lynn Bowden really showed me something today. Showed me I want to see him get a little more time. Jakeem Grant was feast or famine at times today, and then he got hurt. Devontae Parker got hurt. Mike Gesicki was playing lights out, and then he fell, and no, all the King's horses and all the King's men couldn't put Mike Gesicki back together again. But I thought Shaheem and Smythe actually probably played arguably their best game in this one. Shaheen just drawing pass interference after pass interference to give Miami about 47 downs inside the 10. And then Smythe had a critical first down where he really fought through and dove in the most athletic play I've ever seen from the guy. I can give the receivers here, especially given the fact that none of them were in Miami's top five outside of Gesicki. I can give the receivers a B on this one based on the fact that it was a scrape off the street type of moment here.
I'm going to give him a C minus. I was not, other than Gesicki, I was not impressed with a lot of it. I mean, I give a lot of credit to Lynn Bowden, to Mac Hollins for playing above their talent level, but Devontae Parker didn't catch a pass and got injured. Late in the second quarter, he was not on the same page with Tua, and the first drive of the game, it would have been a tough catch for Parker of the sideline, but he didn't come down with that. And Jakeem Grant on the interception by Tua, which was his first of the year. That's that. At the very least, that's something that you can't jump in the air and try to body catch because that ball gets batted up in the air. I mean, Grant got deep on that play, but he still didn't make enough of it in traffic, and he's every bit responsible for why they got batted up in the air. Other than that, not enough separation throughout the day. And even in the third and fourth quarter, when Bowden and Mac Hollins were catching passes, I thought a lot of them had to do with Tua. So I'm going to go with a C minus there for the receivers and the tight ends. Offensive line, we've talked about it a lot. I mean, Austin Jackson and Solomon Kindley had two really bad whiffs in this game. But other than that, I thought the offensive line came to play today, especially in the second half. I mean, when Tua got protection, it didn't matter who was at receiver, like I said before. So I'm going to give him a B plus.
I'm going to go with an A minus for the offensive line. I only put two of the sacks on the line here. The other two I chalk up to rookie mistakes on Tua's side. But like you said, the two of the three rookies had mistakes in this one that led to a sack. But really, they kept Tua pretty clean overall today. And I thought they blocked well when asked to in the running game. I thought there were a few moments where you just saw them pasting guys downfield. And there's a lot to like with this young offensive line. And yeah, nothing more to say on that one.
Defensive line, I love the size and the physicality that Raekwon Davis, Zach Sealer, and Christian Wilkins bring. Emmanuel Ogbah is somebody who, in my opinion, has gotten a lot of attention for weeks now, and that's why you haven't seen a lot of sacks from him. Shaq Lawson, plays in that stand-up linebacker position, goes over left tackle. Thought he had a solid game too. I mean, I thought that the Dolphins put a lot of great pressure on Mahomes in this one. I thought they did very well defending the run. Edwards-Helaire, 16 carries for 32 yards only. Everything else I attribute to Mahomes' ability to get out of the pocket. So I'm gonna go with a B plus for them.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit higher. I'm gonna go with an A minus for the D line. It's they held a hell of a running back in Clyde Edwards-Helaire to next to nothing. Edwards-Helaire is a guy that's right there in the offensive rookie of the year category, even though it's not talked about a lot. He has so much potential and has been awesome for them when healthy. And Miami shut him down. It's Raekwon Davis continues to amaze me, and that huge hit by Sealer in the backfield was a thing of beauty. This line does a lot of the dirty things that they don't get credit for, and they opened up the pathway for Jerome Baker to come through and make the sack for 2.5 sacks. They chased Patrick Mahomes out of the pocket on that 30-yard sack, and that's something we saw from Agba. Agba does so many things that don't show up on the stat sheet as well, and I can go with. I don't know if I said B plus, but I'm going to go A minus.
Yeah. At linebacker, Jerome Baker takes this unit up a lot, but I thought the other guys struggled. Kemu Grugier-Hill had that pass defended, or had that pass batted and result in an interception by Eric Rowe. Other than that, tough game for him. He was outmatched. Sam Eguavoen I thought was outmatched. But Baker had a hell of a game there. But I've got to say that if the Dolphins had Van Noy and Landon Roberts in this game, I think the result on defense would have been a lot better in the second and third quarter. So overall, I'm going to go with a B minus, and Jerome Baker takes it up from probably a D plus to a B minus for me.
Yeah, I was going to say Jerome takes it from a C minus to a B for me for a lot of the reasons that you said. I thought he was all over the field. I thought Aguaven struggled, as you pointed out. I thought Grugier-Hill mostly struggled, had a few good plays in there, but overall, I'm with you on that. They didn't do a good enough job in coverage, and those two didn't do a good enough job in the running game either. But they were supplemented well by others.
Defensive back, I'm going to throw it back to you on that.
A plus. I'm not going to count Fedulum in here. I'm absolutely.
Why not? Why not? He's a defensive back.
He's not a defensive back. He's a special teamer. No. Nope.
All right. Well, I mean, if we're just throwing out the players we don't like out of the position, that's a different story. I mean,
normally I'm not, but this one, I'm not going to dig the defensive backs and the lights out and the really, really good game that we saw from them against one of the best in the game in Patrick Mahomes, based on the 2 plays of a special teamer filling in while somebody was on the sideline for a couple plays. I'm not going to ding them for that. So Fedulum's out there, but I'm not counting it in my grade here. It's Byron Jones, Eric Rowe, and Xavier Howard doing what no one has done ever in Patrick Mahomes' career, picking him off 3 times. I thought they were great in run support. I thought Bobby McCain was a huge factor out there. The fact that Tyreek Hill did next to nothing while McCain was on the sideline, unless McCain was on the sidelines, is huge. Tyreek Hill roasts everybody out there. And then Brandon Jones, again, he seems to be all over the field just doing little special things here and there. And yeah, Eric Rowe got beat a couple times by Kelsey. A lot of that I attribute to the linebackers, though, too, in this one for the majority of what we saw out of Kelsey in this game. I can go with an A plus for these guys overall.
All right. I can't go with an A plus when I look at the stat sheet and see 393 yards passing. And Fedulum, I mean, look, he's a defensive back. He's a safety, and he let up the big play to Tyreek Hill. I can't discount that. But other than that, fantastic job from a lot of these other guys. I mean, Xavier Howard, the one-handed interception. Byron Jones not only gets his first interception since 2017, but he also gets a forced fumble. That was a giant play. Eric Rowe, he was not the tight end eraser in this game by a long shot, but I attribute that way more to Travis Kelce. Bobby McCain goes down. Nick Needham, I thought had, he gave up some passes, but had a solid game. So Fedulum takes the grade down to a B+ for me. Special teams, the biggest play from special teams, the Mecole Hardman punt return for a touchdown that took the game from 21-10 to 28-10. And I remiss to say that Clayton Fedulum, I saw get wiped out of the picture again. If you take out that Tyreek Hill 44-yard touchdown and that punt return, that's 14 points. Maybe it's a different football game here.
And that reverse touchdown as well.
Yeah.
Like 3 touchdowns we can pretty much attribute to Fedulum being on the field in this one.
Yeah, I put Eric Rowe on that a little bit too.
That red son of a bitch.
He took a bad angle. Yeah, it's yeah, I'm sure I know he's going on the Coke bus here later in the podcast. But yeah, that's uncharacteristic for the Dolphins. And Fedulum is a good special teamer too. But not in this one. Jason Sanders misses a kick. Matt Hawk punts the ball from the 50. Usually it's money to be, wedged inside the 20. Instead, it's not. It goes in the end zone. So special teams did not bring it today. This is probably the first time I'm going to give him below a B. Going to go with a C- for him.
Well, you and I are finally in agreement again here. I'm going with a C- for a lot of the reasons you said. I mean, Matt Hawk putting the ball through the end zone, Jason Sanders miss, special teams coverage, Clayton Fedulum's the captain of the unit. That drops it a grade. Yeah, no, it's C- for me. I think Danny Crossman will get this fixed, though.
Yep.
So yeah. Before we move on, Kat, 2 quick things, though. Guys, make sure you make sure you subscribe. You guys have been great about doing that lately. Thank you very much for tuning in on this. And then one of the things I've seen is a huge theme in our chat, especially based on the way we got depleted today. What do you think Juju Smith-Schuster gets this offseason? I'm tired of talking about this and listening to it. I know we haven't talked about it on the show. I know we've got 3 games left of the regular season. But settle this for me. What do you think Juju Smith-Schuster sees as far as a paycheck, and can we afford him?
Yeah, I think we can afford him. And Tua and Juju are in love with each other, so that goes a long way. Heading into this game against the Bills, which Bills are going to win on en route to the Super Bowl, is he had 70 catches for 600 yards. He is not fast, but he's young, he's tough, and I think he would love to come to Miami. Overall, to answer your question, I'm going to say $12 million a year. Nah, probably a little more. I'm going to say 4 years. Given his age, 4 years, $70 million.
Okay. I'll say I think it's going to be a 4 years, probably 15, 16 million to bring Juju in, unless he gives the I love Tua discount.
Yeah. So we're kind of on the same. I mean, so 4 years, 70 million. I said, I'm saying 17, 18 million, only because of his age, really, because if he's 23, 24 years old. When those guys hit the free agent market, remember Olivier Vernon, immediately became the highest paid defensive end in NFL history. These guys cash out. But you've got a lot of guys hitting free agents. You got Juju, you've got Allen Robinson, you've got Chris Godwin, you've got Kenny Galladay, you've got Curtis Samuel. You've got 5 guys who are probably going to be your top 8 free agents here this offseason. And that's where the Dolphins, they have to sign one of them. so that they can go into the draft and say, okay, at wide receiver and running back, or specifically wide receiver, we can add a third guy now if we want to, but we don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, I'm a little torn. I mean, I know Miami's got roughly 35, 40 million maybe in cap space this offseason, but we've also only got, I believe, two true linebackers under contract for next year as it stands right now. So even if you retain a couple of guys um, in the long run, you're going to have to, A, draft the linebacker or two, and B, sign a few linebackers here. Um, you can't run Miami's defense with only two linebackers on your roster.
I I agree with you, and I hope that they re-sign some of these guys too, because experience matters at linebacker in this scheme. And speaking of linebackers, you've talked about Micah Parsons from Penn State,
Yes.
and the Dolphins, after the Texans get whooped today, are picking seventh heading into week 15. Micah Parsons as an off-ball linebacker is very much in the wheelhouse, especially when you consider that you should expect probably three quarterbacks to be taken in the top 10 picks: Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and Zach Wilson out of BYU.
I want Micah Parsons. I do. I think he can do it all. And really, you put him out there with Kyle Van Noy, Jerome Baker in that starting lineup. You're using a Landon Roberts as a fill-in missile if you re-sign him. Um, God, I love the possibilities with this defense and the way that they'd bring Micah along quickly, especially with Van Noy there to take him under his wing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Van Noy is going to be 30 here. And if he's not 30 now, he's going to be 30 in a couple months here. And I think he could still play, obviously, for another couple of years. But that that ability to have Micah Parsons play in a different linebacker position and then move into Van Noy's position, wow, that looks pretty appetizing. But we'll get into that as we approach the NFL draft. Paul, to wrap up here, who is your player of the game for the Dolphins and your Coke Bus player of the game?
My player of the game for the Dolphins, and this is going to sound weird, but it's Bobby McCain. Um, he missed a handful of plays in this game, and in that handful of plays, suddenly Tyreek went off. And Tyreek is a guy that if you let him, he will kill you all day. Um, and then Bobby came back out on the field, and suddenly Tyreek Hill was quiet again. And his two big plays on both of them, you see Clayton Fejedelem get roasted. And there are so many things that Bobby McCain does that don't show up in the stat sheet. And the fact that he went back out there hurt in this game and gutted up and nutted up. I can easily give it to Bobby McCain. He's kind of that glue that makes things around him go. As far as my Coke Bus player of the game, you'd be shocked to find out it's a certain redheaded captain of the worst unit on the field today. And unfortunately, he got in on defense, and it is Clayton Fejedelem, a guy I really like on special teams, but apparently he's allergic to the safety position, which is unfortunate because I like special teamers that can occasionally fill in situationally out in the field.
Yeah, he would have been my clear cut Coke Bus player too. I'm going to go. I think it's the second week in a row. I'm going to go with Jakeem Grant, given the circumstances. I think he had three major plays here that hurt the Dolphins. One was he fielded a punt and ran back about 10 yards and got tackled. Two is I'm not going to say is responsible for Tua's first interception because he did beat the defensive back. The ball was underthrown, but then he tried to body catch the ball, pops up in the air. And the third one was in the first drive of the game. He drops a pass right in the middle of the field. The whole offensively, the first quarter might look even better for the Dolphins. They could have had possibly a bigger lead had that not happened. I like Jakeem Grant as a fourth receiver and a punt returner, but I'm all out on him right now as a number two, number three receiver. I know he's filling in, but can't do it. Um, my player of the game is somebody I've dogged a lot here over the last couple of years, and that's Jerome Baker. I mean, 2.5 sacks in this game, and he was all over the field. He needed to have a big game, and he did. And anything that happened with Travis Kelce, who, in my opinion, was almost single-handedly responsible for how well the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes on offense, I don't attribute any of that to what Jerome Baker did. So kudos to him. And now he's got, I think, 5 sacks on the year, and he's getting a lot of those big plays. So fantastic work on his end. So Paul, any final thoughts here before we sign off and look at New England and the Raiders here over the next 2 weeks?
I really think this Dolphins team, barring any of these injuries being catastrophic, can go out and hit both the Patriots and the Raiders in the mouth. The Raiders are turning into that pretender I told everybody they were weeks and weeks ago. After starting out 6-3, they're just reeling as we go down the stretch here. And I think Miami can go out and hit them. But I think it all starts with Cam Newton and the Patriots next week. I really think Miami gets to 10-5, and then all bets are off in that Buffalo game. I can't decide which way it's going to go, and I can't tell you which way that's going to go until I see the next 2 weeks and see what things look like. Don't forget, any team right now, as we learned today, can A, get devastated with injuries, but B, is a COVID test away or a COVID close contact away from just devastating a position. I mean, you look at the Broncos not being able to field a quarterback a few weeks ago. So you just don't know. But the way it stands right now, I do think Miami can go out and do those things. And Joshua, I'm going to tell you right now, we don't know that Gesicki's not playing another game this year. It's possible, but there are no actual medical reports. Just a guy walking off with something ginger going on, and Tua saying the guy looked like he was still in a lot of pain.
Yeah, it
That's
did.
it can be anything right now. Let's cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It didn't look good. I mean, his uh, any medical stuff, I leave to other people. But it didn't look good. There's no doubt about that. Um, yeah, but you're right, Paul. You look at the Patriots and the Raiders the next 2 weeks, and that is the season. And you know, the Dolphins lost by 6 points to the Chiefs when they came back today, when their entire running back and receiving unit was down. You look at what the Patriots did this past week. They lost 24-3, and Bill Belichick's having to answer questions about whether or not Cam Newton's a starting quarterback. You look at the Raiders. They just fired their defensive coordinator hours ago, Paul Gunther.
Ooh.
They lost 20. They lost by 24 today to the Colts at a game that they were supposed to be competitive in. They should have lost to the Jets last week. You know, it's almost like after they blew their load against the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago, trying to win and lost. That was about it for him. So yeah, it really comes down to the next 2 weeks. And I am staying with, unfortunately, my prediction that the Dolphins are going to split those 2 games. I don't think they have enough firepower, but you go 2-0 in there, and I think the Dolphins get in the playoffs and they win 10 football games. So that's what we're going to be rooting for. That's what we're going to be preparing for here over the next couple of weeks. And that's going to do it for our breakdown of the Dolphins 33-27 loss today to the Chiefs. I'm Brian Cat NFL on Twitter, Paul's Fanatic_pick. Be sure to follow us as well on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and on Spotify. And if it's not on the right side and it's not on the left side, it is on the fin side.